Ahoy, ladies and gents, how you doing? Now then, welcome to the BBC Spews Live. What's the date? It's the 11th of January. Huzzah! That's a bit small. Bosh, there we go. How you doing? I'm on time for a change because I didn't get the chance to go to the gym this morning. Instead, I mowed the lawn and then we went to the hardware store. B&Q in America is amazing because you go to buy paint and there's a place right outside that sells 2-foot hot dogs called the Dog Father or something. God bless America. Of course you want a trough when you go to buy a plane and a rake. That's what you do, right? This is called living, ladies and gentlemen. Living. Who's in the chat? Crikey, 300 views already. Now then. Pylord's in. All right, how we doing? John Hunter, Trevor Harris, Testy, thanks for coming. Denise, Richie Harrington, Spindly Killerfish, and Stu. Thanks for the biscuit, Stu. And everybody else. Truss, amazing books. If you haven't read David Gemmell's masterpiece, I suggest you do so. Loads of good stuff to talk about this week, isn't there? Loads of good stuff. Where's that story? I was just looking for... Twitter's probably... I always cover the BBC, but I think in this day and age, Twitter's my best tool for remembering stuff. Because when you're on there, you just find loads of mad stuff that the BBC occasionally covers. And then you can share it like this. Look, there's a BBC story. So I'll find it. Met officer sacked. Because, the thing with this is, I made a point. I obviously do want to still put the BBC on occasionally when you're doing the BBC Spews. The point I'd make with this is, right, there's going to be an element of the right that see this and instantly start crowing because the bloke who got sacked looks like Samuel L. Jackson. Now, he does, only with a daft hat on and a pair of gigs. It's like he saw Samuel L. Jackson in an interview and thought, I'm going to do that. That'll suit me, that. So Samuel L. Jackson got sacked for sharing racist and sexist messages. So there's going to be an element of this where people want to crow about it. English Realist's been a member for 14 months. Crikey, I didn't even think I'd been doing it that long. All right, thanks for being a member for 14 months, English Realist. Well done, son. Clearly you've got excellent taste in men. So Samuel L. Jackson is clearly a prejudiced. He's a goddamn prejudiced. Oh, I can't swear as much as Samuel L. Jackson does. Loving that. He categorically denies the charges. The other, what else they've done? Let me just go on for a tirade about that. Stuff on a segue, it's what I do. The problem with this is, right, we've totally annihilated. I think I said this a couple of years ago, so I was a visionary genius, as usual. We've annihilated the idea that you should plead guilty, haven't we? Because we've proved in the new... Oh, Russell Smith's a new member. Russell Smith, well done, son. You've got excellent taste as well. Thank you for joining the team. The more of them I get, the less likely I am to get banned. That seems to be the way it works in Silicon Valley. Money talks. When you're a deviant predator with awful nighttime proclivities, you need to bribe a lot of people. So there's a lot of really creepy perverts up there, north of here in Silicon Valley, who only care about money. So the more members you get, the more they leave you alone. Anyway, Karina, how are you doing? Visionary genius. If I do say so myself. I always was a modest one. But joking aside, I made this point years ago, right? Which was, remember back in the old days where people used to plead guilty because they'd let you off? What we started doing is, we started treating criminals with kid gloves, and then we made a mockery of the idea of pleading guilty because we started arresting so many people on trumped up charges. They need to just throw the book at you anyway. So all those people who pled guilty during the riots, none of them should have done. Tony Romo was daft enough to do the same thing. And the point with that is, we totally remove the impetus for anybody who's done anything to plead guilty because they're going to stitch you up anyway. And then conversely, if you're a copper who looks like Samuel L. Jackson, you know for a fact that you'll get treated with kid gloves regardless. So there's no incentive to not lie, is there? Because What I don't get is this. Categorically denies the allegations. How can you categorically deny allegations that you've been sending sexist and racist messages when they've got 2 years worth of log from you being in a WhatsApp group? I don't want to sound like, amateur detective, but you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes, do you? It's the equivalent of saying it's not what it looks like. It's the Shaggy song, Wasn't Me. It's the equivalent of your missus walking in on you, poking the barmaid, and you saying, it's not what it looks like. You know what I mean? Oh, well, I was getting out the shower and she tripped and fell and one thing led to another. If you're in a WhatsApp group for 2 years sending racist and sexist messages, you've been done. You've been done. It's like the case of the bloody knife on Blackadder. Do you remember that one? 50 witnesses standing over the body, covered in blood. And when the police turn up, he says, I killed the bastard. And it's like, oh yeah, the lawyer gets him off. Not only does he get him off, the victim's family has to pay for his dry cleaning. It's like that. But there's no incentive to own up to it, is there? So he's just going to lie. Everything we do now, everything, you've set me off on a rant, but I'll keep going. Everything we do now, everything is just the polar opposite of common sense and logic. We motivate the worst type of behaviour every single time. Think of it. Everything. Everything. I'll just reel off 10 examples. I don't even need a list. I don't even need Google. We tell fat people to eat ice cream, right? There's something we do now. Oh, don't let people body shame you. Have another scone, fatty. Don't let people... You're beautiful at any size. Put more mayonnaise, sweetheart. That's what we do. We motivate the worst type of scum to move to the UK. When Second World War was raging, we didn't say to all the Englishmen and women, oh, I'll tell you what, it's all kicking off, you might as well go to Canada. Because if we did that, the whole world would be knackered, wouldn't it? We motivate them. We say, what you should do, lads, leave the women and kids to get rogered to death and get yourself to England because we'll give you a nice hotel. We motivate, we do the exact opposite of logic every single chance we get. There's someone else I can start ranting about. Did you see the video of the 12-year-olds doing a video in Wales by some activist group? Because they thought, basically the activists sat down and went, what do unvetted migrant men really like? And they were like, sitting around a table, all these purple-haired, coach ball through the tongue, morbidly obese, Guardian reading, sparrow-boned lefties. What are migrant men like? Sit there. One of them's got a whiteboard marker at the front. You know what they're like, these types. They always do that, don't they? Have a meeting, everybody's got a chai latte, and come on, let's do some brainstorming. What do illegal, unvetted, fighting-age migrant men like? Jacqueline. Praying. Oh, good one. Yeah, just praying. I'll write that down. Tarquin. What are they like? Well, they definitely don't like haram thing. Oh, no, they don't like them. I'll write haram. Yeah, put that down. I'll put that in the don't like box. What else do they like? Guinevere. And Guinevere's like, oh, they love bumming 12-year-olds above greasy kebab shops. Oh, that's a good one. Bumming 12-year-olds, greasy kebab shop. Hey, I'll tell you what. I've got an idea. Why don't we make an enticing video comprised entirely of 12-year-old girls? They'll love that one. And you think I'm making a joke, but that's what they actually did. And I'm going to find it and show you it because I thought it was a bite. These activist groups are genuinely mental. I've been taking the piss for a long time and saying the boundless hypocrisy of them staggers me. But I think they're mental. They're not just hypocritical and playing a political game. As I said, it's like a religious cult. Because if you're so indoctrinated that you think all that matters to you is your political ideology, so if you hear about a 12-year-old getting banged more than Stevie Wonder's big toe above a kebab shop in Slough, if you hear about that and the first thing you think is, oh, you know what? Shouldn't tell anyone about that because it might make people look bad who look a certain way, and then my ideology will look bad. So what I'll do is I'll cover up for them. That's basically what's gone through their head. They've been told yeah, murder and death and sexual assault and all that stuff. It's all pretty bad. But you know what's worse? Racism. There's nothing worse in the whole world than racism, right? Everybody knows that. We've all been told. So they actually genuinely think, okay, if there's any chance of me adding to the racism of the entire world, then I've got to side with the people that do it if they happen to have a tan. And they've done it to the point where they're actually making videos to try and encourage full-blown diddlers to come to the UK. And to do it, they're using enticing videos of 12-year-old girls saying, hey, come to Wales, boyo. We love hairy, scary, unvetted men with lots of testosterone, 8 inches on the slack, and bad manners. We love them. They're our favourite people. Please move to Wales. You'll have a fantastic time. And in fact, there's another one. Look, Kelvin McKenzie. Let's share that. So, God, I'm bouncing all over the place because I'm getting raged. I'll quickly read this, and then I'll cut to Kelvin McKenzie to make the point. So, what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson. He's denying this because, of course, he's denying it because we promote bad behaviour all the time. And it's racist, sexist, and inappropriate messages. Let's just see what they said and see if he can deny it, right? Because he's denying it. He said he's categorically denied. Definitely wasn't Samuel L. Jackson. But he was in this group for years, and they've gone through it, and they've said they've breached standards in respect of equality and diversity, as if that is a thing. The panel found, this is what proves that we're living in 1984. The party has decided what's illegal and what isn't legal. And they've made things illegal, like some sort of Stalinist panel, that you wouldn't even dream of writing on any statute. Led by Commander Jason Prince, the panel found Mr. Hekoya breached standards in respect of equality and diversity. What does that mean? What does that gibberish gobbledygook mean? Breached standards in respect of equality and diversity. How? What are these standards? Who makes them? Laws used to be handed down to us by generations because we arrived at these situations over millennia. Laws aren't there, just be brought up on a whim. And that's what David Starkey said about Starmer, how he lives for the rule of lawfare, the rule of lawyers, where they just decide on a whim what's illegal. And that's what they did with Trump. They find things, and then they just decide to make them illegal, and then they go, oh, look at that, you've brought the law, as if the law is totally sacrosanct. But what these perverts have done is they've made the law a joke. The law is whatever they say it is. This man hasn't committed a crime, and they can tell you that he's breached standards in respect of equality and diversity, but it's meaningless. It's meaningless. They just make that up. What standards exactly? Let's have a look what he said. Appropriate to dismiss him without notice. 7,000 messages between... So, 3 years of messages. He can't. It said he sent an image of a Hugh Hefner and said, message from the other side, tell the Puma trackies that there's no 72 virgins left. Yeah, all right. So it was a joke then. Yeah, weird that. He also made a series of racist messages about Chinese people. Well, hang on. You can't blame him for that, because you've made the rules here, lads. You made all them rules. You're the ones who said, look at Harvard and Yale. You can only be racist to Africans. You made them rules, not me. You're the ones who spent years telling... I've seen some kid on Twitter. Unbelievable, this. It was like some poor Asian kid in America who was proper clever. Not only did he have the best grades ever, he was even in all the extra clubs and that. It was unbelievable. He was there, this poor bastard, and he was buff and handsome and I had whatever it was, GPA they use. I was in the top 0.3% for my exam results, and every papers I was valedictorian. I got highest in the state for physics and chemistry and biology. And what else? I was in the chess club. I played the clarinet. It was one of them, one of those paragons of the education system, you know what I mean? Good at every single subject. and a jock, and he played the clarinet, and he spoke Latin, and he was everything. And they were like, oh, no, we haven't got space for you, mate. Oh, why not? Oh, because this fella, Umbutu Ungumbuggy Wankbo from Nigeria, he's been oppressed by, what, by Chinese Americans? Yeah. Makes loads of sense, doesn't it? So that's what we've done for the last 20 years. You're the ones who said it was all about them fellas. So what's wrong with Samuel L. Jackson taking the piss out of Xi Jinping? You made the rules. He also joked about having sex with a girl with dad. Sorry, is this my dad? This doesn't sound like Samuel L. Jackson. This sounds like some of the text messages my Uncle Ian sent me. And mockery of the late Duke of Edinburgh's car crash. And again, how many times have we said this? You can all whinge. Let's say you're a hardcore monarchist. I've made this point loads of times. Because I've actually got integrity, I'll defend stuff I don't agree with if it makes logical sense and I don't want to look like a hypocritical sack of rats like all the lefties are, because they are shockingly hypocritical, boundless hypocrisy. If you want to joke about that, I like the Duke of Edinburgh. I thought he was hilarious. Loved the bloke. But if you want to joke about him having a car crash, you're allowed to. You're allowed to. To say otherwise is to be a shocking hypocrite, and I don't want to be like Owen Jones or Hugh Edwards or anybody else associated with the BBC, the Guardian, or the Labour Party. What's this? I've got more super chats, I think. Oh, yeah, Stu sent me some custard creams. What a guy. Like Ace Rimmer. What a guy. Anglo-Saxon got me an 8 and centre. Thanks for that. I'll be drinking. I'm actually trying to do dry January, embarrassingly. I guess I'm getting old, honestly. Now, when I get leathered for a week, I feel like I'm going to die for 10 days afterwards. So I've got a bit more motivation. Sucks to get old. And Richie Ayrton, while it will be interesting to see Shamima Bagoom trying to convert her fellow contestants on Love Island, she is the tip of a very sharp, stabby, explodey spear coming back. Richie Ayrton must have sense in reading or television because he's spelled sharp with a capital S and an E on the end. So Richie Ayrton's got the same taste in novels and TV series as I do. I told you a lot last week, right? I've been watching Sharp all the way through again. Brilliant. Oh, Ian, Peter Lamb's joined the team. Pete, cheers to you, mate. Thanks very much. I'll do another giveaway, actually. Now I've got loads of members. I'll pick a name at random. When am I doing? I'll do it next live stream. We'll do it next week. And I'll go to the post office and someone can win some, frankly, quite amateurish art. But it's better than a kick up the arse, isn't it? Plus, if I die, it'll be worth money. That's how art works. So when I drink myself to death, aged 46, you can sell it to a very strange collector on eBay. And Joe sent me £2 for no reason, just because she's a good egg. Cheers. The swill that I drink, that'll still buy me 6 cans. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So if you want to take the piss out of the Duke of Edinburgh, in my book, you're allowed to, aren't you? It doesn't bother me. I find it staggering that these things you can sack people for. Jokes. The jokes. All of them. And the worst thing is, the lefties think it's a good argument to say, oh, just because it's a joke, that's not an excuse. Yeah, it is. Running someone over is bad. Making a joke about running someone over is fine. Not that complicated, is it? You don't need to be Stephen Fry. Make some eloquent 20-minute TED talk about it. Jokes are fine. We all do it. That's what makes them funny. Being edgy is funny. Who doesn't know someone who's made a gag about rattling a downy? We've all been there. And in the Royal Marines, probably half of them have actually rattled a downy. So, I mean, there's joking about it and there's doing it. Very different. No problem with it at all. I can't believe that this is a thing. But there we go. So it's a bit ludicrous that the fella's trying to deny it. Samuel L. Jackson's he's in deep Tommy tit. and there's not much you can do about it. He should just have the balls to own up to it, because it's a bit pathetic, really, isn't it? Right, let's look at this one. Kelvin McKenzie, what a weasel. He's a worm, but, you know, broken clock's right, twice a day. And he's made this point here. A 17-year-old schoolboy, Thomas Taylor, is stabbed to death by a gang of black youths, Sky News reports, near Bedford bus station. Where is the outrage? Imagine the other way around. Yeah, imagine that. Literally, if a gang of youths that are ginger did something to, well, like Stephen Lawrence, for example, they made his bloody mother a dame. Like, I mean, I joked about this, like, you know, again, joking with my mates in a WhatsApp group when the latest round of BLM riots or something, and I made a gag about it. I was like, right, I've had enough, dig up Stephen Lawrence. And one of them was like, lol, what did he do? And that's why it's funny, because obviously poor old Stephen Lawrence didn't deserve to get killed. It was a joke. But anyway, did his mum need to get made a dame? Like, it's ludicrous. If a gang of white lads in normal, like, chew, kill a lad who happens to be black, probably for an unrelated reason or because they were just arguing, not only do they go on about it for 20 years, they make his mother a dame. But when the race is reversed, no one cares. And that's the point he's making here. Imagine the other way around. Papers like The Sun are afraid to give the story prominence for fear of being dubbed and then losing advertisers. That's why it took decades for Puma Tracky grooming gangs to be reported properly, with the exception of the Times. The BBC managed to report Tom Taylor's death without mentioning the gang's colour once. How many times have I made this joke? This is the world we're living in. They are so obsessed with this ludicrous woke ideology. And the ideology itself's bigoted and prejudiced and xenophobic and racist, because it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. Normal people do not have a problem with mentioning distinguishing characteristics of killers. Nobody cares. Nobody. If a 6'5" Rasta with dreadlocks carrying a bong and a machete chopped my missus up, you best believe I want the APB to be 6'5", dark fellow with dreadlocks and a bong and a machete to be on the news, but they don't do it. A 6'5" Rasta with a machete and a bong chops an old lady up in London, and they go, put out an APB. Who are we looking for? It had feet. It had feet. Quick. Pull over anyone with feet. This is the world we're living in. It's ludicrous. And I made a piss-take comment to it in response. Where is it? Yeah, there it is. That's what the police will have to do. Right, put out an APB. What did he look like? All right, if you can't use distinguishing features, just like name an actor or something. Use an actor. Robert Redford, Damian Lewis. You can go through all the different hair colours and stuff, can't you? What did he look like? Idris. Oh, we've got to stop you there. I'll cut you off. You can use any actor as long as he's not Asian, black, African, Oriental, or Mediterranean. All right, what did he look like? Right. He was 6'5" Rasta with dreadlocks, but we can't say that. So what we'll put out is he looked like Danny DeVito if you got locked in a tanning tube for 3 months. Nice one. I'll tell the lads. And then it's like, what they're going to do? Pull over everyone. It's completely preposterous. Completely preposterous. Richie Erickson, get out. Cheers. The invading army is just showing the conquered population that they can take anything from them, including the children. Oh, 100%. Sorry, all truth. No need to apologise around these parts. We like facts and logic on this channel. Tyrant, he's got Captain Britain as his avatar there. Captain Britain. I told you I used to collect comics, me, for about 30 years. It took me a long time to grow out of it. And what's funny about that? Captain Britain was called like Brian Brown or something, and he was an Al Gore. The first comic I read, it was like Spider-Man was on, Peter Parker was on exchange, and he was in London at like a college somewhere, and his roommate was Captain Britain by coincidence. and he was an alcohol. I was like, oh, that's a bit of a naughty stereotype, isn't it? The first British guy Spider-Man shares a room with, and he's drinking whiskey at 6 o'clock in the morning before he goes to class. Wankers. That's like me making a comic, and Captain America's £40. That's £40. £400. Captain America's in a wheelchair with an America flag on it, eating Twinkies, wearing a MAGA hat. The brown bottle. Oh, he was a good superhero. Yeah, and I still. Viz is shocking. I just go back and read the albums now. I've got all of them, and they're one of the few items I shipped over with me. I did like one box of shite to bring to the States, and the one thing, the prized possessions that were in there was 15 Viz albums at extensive cost, but I've still got them all. Brilliant. I'm sort of living in the past, though. My missus told me today that apparently one of the biggest signs of depression is that you live in the past. And I definitely do, which is why I think it's like most things the professionals say, it's probably nonsense, because I'm not even slightly depressed. I'm happy, and I go to work every day, and I stay active, and I'm doing all right. But I live in the past. Like when I'm off work, plus I work in a modern industry, and we're doing amazing things, and I've socialised and I enjoy my life. But I totally live in the past. Like when I have my time off, I'm listening to like 80s music and I'm watching 80s TV on YouTube. Or when I'm working out, I'm watching Sharp or 24. All I ever do is live in the past. Like I'm not interested in anything from the last sort of 10 years. Every bit of entertainment I watch, I don't know how many of you have done the same, but if you're not following the Bootneck's past is best mantra, I suggest you get with the program, because it's just better. It's just better. If you're wasting your time looking for stuff to watch on telly, for example, you're a lunatic. Think about what you do in Christmas. Christmas is great, right? This is me trying to pitch the argument to you. Christmas is amazing. And at Christmas time, you live in the past, don't you? Like, you're trying to recapture those wonderful days when you were a child and you were carefree and everything was good. That's a great time of year. And you even eat the stuff that reminds you of being a child. You know what I mean? I'll splurge and get some Mr. Kipling mini Battenbergs just because I remember eating them at primary school on the last day before Christmas, because everyone was allowed to bring a box of junk in. And sitting there at primary school eating a mini Battenberg, and you buy that and like tins of roses and stuff to try and remember your childhood. Nowadays, with the internet, once you've got a VPN, you can download everything, and you can just live in the past, and you don't need to waste your time. I think it's because I'm impatient. I don't want to waste my time. You don't need to waste your time sitting there with a TV remote looking for something to watch when you know for a fact you're going to be like, click, two blokes bumming. Click, oh look, two African fellas kissing. Click, oh look, two women in comfortable shoes having a barroom brawl. Click, oh look, scrawny 90-pound blonde knocking 10 bells of shite out of 8 stuntmen. Click, click, click. Every channel now, you've got blokes snogging each other. I'm sick of, I don't want to look for something to watch because I'm sick of seeing blokes necking on with each other. So my dad told me he said every time I turn the telly on, there's two blokes kissing. That's the world we're living in. So why are you wasting your time? Get yourself online, get a VPN, and just get everything you want. And I live in the past. What have I been watching lately? I've been watching Sharp. I've been watching Farscape. I've been watching loads of documentaries, history documentaries, usually from the 80s. I've been watching 24. That's something else I started rewatching. The first couple of seasons are good. By season 3, I think they'd kick the arse out of it. Because by season 3, it's unbelievable. I think his daughter gets kidnapped 3 times in season 3 in 24 hours. Like, she gets kidnapped in the bus station, and then he rescues her. And then she gets kidnapped by the terrorists, and then he rescues her. And then she's walking home, and she goes in to get a bottle of Gatorade from the gas station. And an armed robber comes in, and she gets kidnapped again. I was like, is this the unluckiest woman on planet Earth? She should be volunteering to be the first one to fly to Mars if she's that unlucky. But old TV's amazing. And then, it sounds like you lot are a lot older than me, but There's loads of good stuff from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. You can watch Rising Damp, there's a good one. Or Alf Garnett. I watch 80s TV now. I just don't watch anything new. You're wasting your time. Why waste time? You've got a finite amount of time off. You've got to go to work. When you come in, sit straight down, click, put sharp on. Easy. Easy. Don't have to watch blokes necking on. Don't have to see big hairy geezers pulling each other off on Love Island or whatever it is they do. And there you go. I don't even know. I'm 45 years old. I've never, ever, ever watched Love Island, an episode of Big Brother, any reality TV. I don't watch. The only reality TV show I've ever watched, my missus got me into it, is the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off. I think they changed the name, didn't they? And even that's got worse. Even that's depressing. Because in season 1, it was the Great British Bake Off. Season 15 is watch this collection of random foreigners and absolutely raving blokes who cry and make me uncomfortable. Right? Watch this. And I'm sitting at home going, because I hate it. I get uncomfortable watching people embarrass themselves on television. And when I'm looking at some fat queen crying his eyes out because his scones are a bit dry, it makes me want to hang myself. So don't waste your time with anything new. Take my advice. Pick the top 10 TV programmes you liked in the 80s and the 90s and the early 90s and don't look back. Trust me, your life will be better. Thanks for the cash tyrants anyway. Trevor Harris, get yourself an Oggy from the Gaddafi. There's no naffies out here. I reckon the Yank ones are better as well. I've been assured they still serve tenants. When I was at Limpston in like 99, they served tenants on draft. Absolute bilge. I wouldn't wash the car with tenants, but thanks for the sentiments appreciated. Gomorrah was made in the past 10 years and it's a great show. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. I mean, if it's genuinely good, I'll look it up. But I'm trusting you there, SK. I'm trusting you. If as soon as I turn it on, there's a black disabled lesbian muffing out some, I don't know, one-legged tie, I'm not interested. Geordie Swallow, thanks for the laughs. Have a scoop with me. Cheers, mate. And Anglo-Saxons got excellent taste in television as well. Francophobia. There's nothing else like it. Right. So that's my rant over. That is ludicrous. But I've made the point loads of times to you lot. I'm preaching to the converted, I know. But you all know the crack. This is good. Let's cover this. Short version. Let me just finish what I was about to say before I put this on. This, the latest of what you would expect from the deviants that lord it over you. We all saw this coming 20 miles away, didn't we? All saw this coming 20 miles away. But to sum up on the last story, I've made the point a dozen times. If you're willing to sign off on seeing tens of thousands of little innocent girls, the most innocent, sweet people in your society, get used and abused and tortured and occasionally killed by swarthy foreign men, if you're willing to do that, you're willing to do anything. So none of this should be a surprise to any of you. None of it. I told you this. When they allowed that, tens of thousands of girls totally ignored. I told you this. If they get a suitcase nuke, if they got a WMD and detonated in the middle of London, I'm telling you now, and killed 100,000 people in a day, it still wouldn't move the elite. It still wouldn't move them. They could kill 100,000 people in one day, and the next day they'd be like, oh, you know what the real problem is? The fair right. Yeah. You know what the real problem is? Sam Elliott's got some stickers for sale. This is where we are. You'll see. America's better at this stuff because heads will roll over them fires. I bet you the next one that breaks out, they'll put it out and you won't see little fat roller bull dyke. You'll see big, hairy, muscly 23-year-old geezer sprinting down the street with a fully functioning hose because heads roll out here. Back home, let's cover it all up. Cover it all up. This will get covered up. In 2 weeks' time, no one will remember it. And then I have a cat that'll be conquered deep in a 10-year-old and nobody will care. Because Britain is rank with hypocrisy. The only way you can fix it is if a total outsider comes in like a Trump and just goes through it all like a dose of salt. 80% of the civil service sacked. 80% of the judges sacked. All the coppers sacked. Root and branch, dig it all out. Houses of Parliament, gone. The lot of them. House of Lords, bulldoze it while it's in session. Like, you've got to go through it like a dose of salt, and if you don't, nothing will ever change, I'm telling you. Kat, cheers for that. Keeping it real, you're a breath of fresh air in a world of lunacy. Well, I wish me missus agreed. Thanks for that. Dan Brooker, bought a super sticker. Cheers, mate. And Brenda Wilson, thanks for the deep sea diver. Rest assured I will waste it on frivolity and booze and good times. Starting next month, February 1st. I promise. Right, shall we talk about this detestable perv? Farage, as I've said to you, I'll use this before I show you the video to just make the case again. The right-wing purity spiral has to stop. Has to stop. I've been proved right with all of this stuff, right? Long-term viewers, been watching for 4 years, you know what I've been saying. I told you. Because I voted, again, you've been following in real time, right? I voted for Boris. Like 3 or 4 years ago, whatever it was. I was like, when I was still naive, I was like, you know what? He's not perfect, but he'll do. He'll get Brexit done. Ugh. I feel dirty. Boris Johnson, love turns to hate very quick. This is like fatal attraction stuff, this, me and Boris. I voted for Johnson. Now I'm ashamed of myself. The fat, porridge-faced albino jellyfish is beneath contempt. He brought in the most immigrants that have ever moved to the UK ever in history in a single year. And Boris brought him in. The bloke who said we were going to have, we were going to sort immigration out, we were going to get Brexit. Boris Johnson, so total betrayal. So I told you what was going to happen. And I told you this. I said 20, 25, I believe I said 25% exactly, didn't I? People will know from a year or two ago. 25% of people are going to vote for reform or right-wing alternatives. This will suck 25% of the votes away from the Tories. Labour will win by a landslide. And then hopefully that wakes the normies up. The 25% will turn into 50%, and then all the rest of them will get with the programme. The Tory party will collapse. We'll all galvanise behind a new one. And if we're still allowed elections, because the Labour Party are just full-blown tyrants, if we're still allowed them, or by force, come 2028, 2029, finally, we get an actual alternative to the Uniparty, Labour, Lib Dems, Tories, SNP. So reform, I have to say, for all of their many failings, you have to support them. Like, it's all well and good saying, oh yeah, this, that and the other. Nigel's had a pop with Tony Romo and all of this. And he has. But there's stuff to work with. The people behind him, the MPs, I like the MPs. Anderson is great. There's loads of good reform MPs. You can get it done. The alternative is to sit there and be smug like mega right-wing people. Like, no chance is one of them, isn't he? I quite like the bloke, I do, but he's one of them purity spiral guys. Like, oh, not good enough for me. Well, then you sit there and be smug with your, oh yeah, look at Bootneck, he's a soft, wet, lefty communist, whatever you want to call me. But we'll never, ever fix anything, and we'll never, ever win, ever. And we haven't even got a chance. Have we? Because the people you like will not ever get into power. Ever. So the alternative's what? I don't disagree with 90% of their politics, and there's plenty of problems with Nigel Farage. But we've got to try something. The alternative is slag off reform all the time as well and say, oh, reform are lefties, reform are part of the club, reform are controlled opposition, and then we've got nothing. So reform, they are weak, yeah. Bobby Crutch, they are weak. I've got all kinds of problems with them. But there is no other alternative. That's just a fact. I know I'm a ruthless pragmatist, but there is no other alternative. That's it. They are the alternative. And it took 20 years to bring them into fruition. So there's nothing else. UKIP, at this point, I think with Farage gone, I think UKIP are about done. If somehow UKIP end up with a couple of million people voting for them, maybe. But I'm a pragmatist. I'll take the ghost of a chance for things to get better under reform than sitting in a room with very, very, very right-wing people saying, oh, yeah, but they're all lefty, wokeist, controlled opposition, and never, ever getting anywhere near even a sniff of power. Do you know what I mean? You've got to pick something. You've got to. And Farage is a bit of a dick, but so what? And I definitely don't like Richard Tice. He's an idiot, and he's posh, and he says dumb shit all the time. But what's the alternative? Parker, by the 21st, a 50-year-old white man will be in charge of the fight. I bet you, heads roll in America a lot better than in the UK, because the UK is a class society, and it's baked into us. Hey, see how you doing? All right. Haven't seen you online much lately, but I hope all's well. Astonishing GB News only just realised the loophole used to veto the deportation orders issued in 2012 to Rotherham gang. I've covered it years ago and no one listened. Shocking. Yeah, well, your problem, AC, is you're working class, mate, so they don't care. Because, like I said, it's built into the UK. Built in. Look at Tony Romo. He was right. Everything he said was right. And they've never once said, oh, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have criminalised him because he was right. If he talked in a posh accent, he'd have a knighthood. I said this about Madeleine McCann. Honestly, think of this. The glorious road, yeah, we need another one. We need another one. But I don't think a cloggy's coming to save us this time. I've said this loads of times, right? If Madeleine McCann's parents were from a council estate in Middlesbrough, they'd both be in jail. That's a fact. If they were both Glaswegian pissheads, they'd both be in jail. There's no way. There's no way. Instead, because the middle-class arseholes who are both doctors, they went to see the Pope. They went out on the lash and they left the bairns in the house. What is that called if you're from a council estate? Do you know what I mean? This isn't controversial. It's just obvious. But if Tony Romo was Douglas Murray and he had a posh accent and he always wore a tweed jacket and a tie, they'd give him a knighthood because he was right. Everything he said was right. So, yeah, like I said, it's unbelievable. If they were from a council estate in Borough that have got 25 year each, if you're posh, you can eat the kids and they won't do anything about it. Anyway, I'm ranting. Let's watch this pervert while I drink some tea. Former Labour Defence Minister Ivor Kaplan arrested after a sting by nonce-hunters. He was attempting to meet a 15-year-old boy. The evidence is damning. But watch it for yourself.
You told this child that you was going to go and meet him.
That wasn't because Stephen will be at work.
At 1 o'clock, you said that you was going to go and meet him at quarter to.
If we could. I don't know, trains, etc.
Yeah,
etc.
you see.
I don't know.
But wait, here's the slippery thing. You've said you have no intention, but now you concede that actually, I might have been planning to take this child to meet Stephen. So you admit that's what you were trying to do.
I don't know his age.
You know his age accurately. This child regularly.
If I knew his actual age,
this
and
child.
I don't know that, then I wouldn't do anything.
This child regularly told you that they were at school and they were doing school-related activities.
Yeah, but that's not the same as knowing age.
So bang to rights. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing. Bang to rights. Again, the shameful. Normal working class people who've got a moral compass, when you get banged to rights, you just admit it, don't you? You just admit it. You get caught doing out. Oh yeah, I did. If your missus checks your phone and finds a load of text messages which are filthy to the local barmaid and just says, I found all lemon, what do you say about that? No, you don't try to lie because it's embarrassing enough than adding endless lies on top of it. So you go, Yeah, I've been rattling the barmaid. Sorry. I'll pack my bags. You know what I mean? A mate of mine in the car sat on his phone in the taxi and he was boasting about shagging some slapper. And he said when he got home, his missus had packed his bags and he went, "What's the matter?" And she pressed the answer phone on his thing, played him for 10 seconds and he went, "All right, yeah, you've done me. Sorry, for what it's worth." And he grabbed his bags and he left. A Labour MP would go, "Oh, yeah, it's not what it looks like." They're just worms. That is damning. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say. Imagine it if you were straight. Imagine if it was me. 45, I'm way younger. Well, there's three things. First of all, I'm far younger. Second of all, I'm far better looking. Third of all, I'm far more intelligent. That's me versus the entire Labour Party. But let's just say, 45-year-old straight man turns up to meet a schoolgirl, right? And one of them says, "This child regularly said she was at school doing school-related activities." Do you think a normal straight man would say, "Oh yeah, but that's not any proof of age"? They're at school. We don't run like a backwards education system in England, like everyone's a chimney sweep aged 5 to 16 and then you go to school. If we did that, then maybe you'd have a good excuse, Ivor. Maybe you would. "Oh, well, school's no proof of age. I mean, you don't stop sweeping the chimneys till you're 16, so maybe you'd be like 18, you know. It's only the first year of school, you're 17. So that's not an answer. That's no proof of age. School. You're 65, you horrible, filthy little creature. What do you mean that's no proof of age? So, as I've said, wire up the lazy boys. This is what we need to do. I'm sick and tired of it. Wire up the lazy boys. Get a big, massive, comfortable leather reclining chair, a nice 3-seater, and every Friday, reel the pervs out. Easy. Easy. That's all you've got to do. Simple. I should make me Minister for Justice. And I'd save us millions because, like Dirty Harry said, got to do the taxpayers a favour, haven't you? Save them a few pennies. And this reminds me of that hilarious Babylon Bee thing that I shared, because do you remember I was talking about how the Babylon Bee is just absolutely superb. Everything they write, the Babylon Bee. I don't know who does all their stories, but the guy wants a raise because they're fantastic, some of the stuff they put out. And one of their headlines, in fact, I think I shared it on my YouTube community post. Let me have a look, see if I can find it for those of you that didn't see it. Brilliant stuff. Like, just because you can't argue with, it's always best to make a joke and a point. And where is it? Here we are. Yeah, the Babylon Bee. I put whoever works here wants a raise, they kill it every day. There it is. Notorious grooming gang votes to not investigate itself. Yeah, that's exactly what's gone on there. Like, these are the worst type of people. The worst type of degenerates. And as I keep telling you, people like Anna Soubry and David Cameron and Keir Starmer, because we live in a class society. All they hear is the accent. Told you, it's baked into them. All they hear is the accent. They hear people like me and Tony Romo talk, and they can't abide it. Not only can they not abide it, they want to criminalise you for it. Douglas Murray has said some extremely scathing things about Alan and his world-famous snack bar. He tortures them. Christopher Hitchens. Have you seen? You've all seen it. We're all fans of him on this channel, I'm sure. Have you all seen some of the videos of Christopher Hitchens? In Canada, he gave a massive speech and absolutely tortured them. That's where I pinched epileptic from, because he said, he makes some, far more erudite quote than me about how there's like evidence that Mighty Moore, the founder of the religion of many, many pieces, was epileptic. So I remembered it, and that's why when I joke about it, I say, the pot-bellied, puke-skinned, epileptic dwarf, right? That's who he's on about. the type of stuff Christopher Hitchens and Douglas Murray have said about the religion of many pieces would get people like me jailed. You know for a fact it would. In fact, that'd be a good experiment to do, wouldn't it? Someone who's got balls like coconuts should get one of Christopher Hitchens' fantastic speeches from the glory days. They're all on YouTube. Tape one of them, like the 5-minute screed where he's going mental about it, saying, you're giving away the most precious things, ladies and gentlemen. You're just giving it all away. And he said the I phobia word is, you know, propagated by morons, uttered by imbeciles. He tortures them. If you downloaded the whole thing, put it on like a headphone, and then just quoted it verbatim but did it in an accent like mine, if you get a Geordie to repeat Christopher Hitchens in Speaker's Corner, you get 20 years. I'm telling you. If you got a Geordie or a Mackem to stand at Speaker's Corner and say some of the stuff that Douglas Murray or Christopher Hitchens has uttered about the pot-bellied Bronze Age barbarians that rattle little girls and redecorate pop concerts in Brain Matter Grey and scatter children up the side of music events and go into the Bataclan and butcher disabled people and the mentally handicapped and castrate people, or go to the pyramids and brutally shag birds to death while the husbands are watching and smash the babies' heads in on walls, or go to ISIS and set a load of ancient monuments on fire, or blow up the Buddhas of Bamiyan, or think the greatest human on earth ever rattled a 9-year-old, or Charlie Hebdo, or Beslan School Massacre, or Madrid train bombing, 9/11, 7/7, Lee Rigby, Emily Jones, Safi, all of them. I can reel them off for hours, but you're a bad person if you criticise them for it. And do you know why you are? Because you talk funny. And if you talk funny, you're thick. You're thick and you're a bigot and you deserve it. So this is why I'm here. God bless the United States of America. I'm extremely lucky and I feel thankful for it every day. Thankful for it every day. God bless my missus and her superb taste in men that allowed me to get a visa and come over here, because at least in this country, the class thing doesn't exist. And if you say truth factually, they don't care what you sound like. Here, they quite like how you talk. You've got a bit of a twang. Back home, you get 10 years for it. So, it's all well and good. I know British people, I'm very patriotic. I love the UK, born and raised. I'm very patriotic about the UK. And I know why people get chippy with me when I slag off the UK and say it's better in the States. But it just objectively is for that one reason. There's loads of things that are better about the UK. I love the sense of humour. That's why I visit as often as I can. I love the stiff upper lip and the stoicism, and I love the beer and I love the people, and the crack's better. But if you're talking about actual freedom to express yourself without getting criminalised because you talk funny, you've got to be in the United States of America. That's the whole crack with the UK. And every one of you knows this is true. Some of those Christopher Hitchens' greatest hits, if you said them, you would be in prison. I'm telling you. Like I said, I'll have to find one and do a video about it. Parmos. I do miss a Parmo. My missus makes me one every now and then when she's spoiling me. But I'm telling you, you'd know you'd get sent to prison for it. Douglas can do it. Because, most importantly, he happens to be sort of, well into cock. Doesn't go on about it very often because he's a normal gay man, right? And your sexuality is like 2% of your life. Again, the weird ones, they're the weird ones, aren't they? Go on about it all the time. It's so weird. Like, we don't go on about it all the time, do we? All the time. Like, every chance you get. What did you do last night? Oh, I had sex with my wife because I'm straight. Yeah. What do you like to eat? Well, I like hot dogs because they remind me of my big floppy dong because I'm straight and it's mint. Did I tell you I'm straight? Yeah, tits, yeah, minge. The fucking absolute lunatics. That's just the way they roll. every 2 seconds talking about what they like putting their cocks in. I don't get it. So Douglas Murray's a normal gay man, so he doesn't bring it up very often. But that helps him. And most importantly, he's posh. So, you know it's true. You know it's true. And you can all argue and say, oh yeah, Bootneck, stop slagging off England. I'm not slagging off England. I absolutely always will love the nation of my birth. And I'll be back there probably every year till the day that I die. And with any luck, I'll be able to get a little flat in York somewhere so I don't have to go down south, obviously. And, you know, I'll probably spend a few months every year there if I could. I love it. I love the crack. I love the humour. But you're not free people. Nowhere's totally free. But you're better off here. I've never been arrested for talking funny, which is essentially what they do in the United Kingdom. Sorry, what's this? Spindly killerfish. Kind of hoping the Orange Oracle takes the UK as a state. Yeah, and again, how bad's that? Like, we shouldn't be, but we've got so bad and hopeless that we're almost wanting now, aren't we? Like, years ago, if anyone even suggested we have some sort of, like, you know, hard marrying up with the United States, as a proud Englishman, and I went, no, it's ludicrous. Like, we do our own thing. We are different, and we are different. But now we're hopeless. We've got nothing. They've got Trump. We've got Trump coming in, who's actually going to try and affect some change. You've got Starmer. At this point, you'll take what you can get, can't you? The United States is like a life raft. And I've said that for years. Because of the geography and the fact that they don't have this class society, self-loathing, cringing, spineless, filthy weasels like Boris Porridge-Face Johnson, or even worse, Stormtrooper Starmer. The full-blown 1984 was a documentary. Demolition Man is my favourite film. Stamp on your windpipe for even thinking about saying anything bad about the big gold bell end church. Because of that, what chance have you got? What options have you got? It's the US or bust at this point, isn't it? The next flashpoint in England is obvious. Let me ask you this. I'll put this in a very simplistic way. Do you think when they're importing 30,000 unvetted men a year that we know about, probably 5 times as many, do you think there's going to be less sexual assaults, risk of terrorism, possible beheadings, suicide bombings, Taylor Swift dance classes getting stabbed up? Do you think there's going to be less of them in 2025 or more? Just like, do the maths. Every week, more unvetted fighting age men move to the United Kingdom. So my question to you is, if you think there's going to be less incidents of terror or grooming or sexual assault by men who treat women like property, like I said, my favourite gag from Borat, in my country, we treat a woman as a man, a horse, dog, a rat, a woman. Right? We're importing hundreds of thousands of men with those ideas and attitudes every year, unvetted, fighting age. Do you think there's a higher or a lower risk of major terrorist incidents in the United Kingdom as a result of that? Higher or lower? I don't understand it. Anybody who has any optimism in the United Kingdom, you've got to be living in cloud cuckoo land, because and how many times have I said it over all these years? It's got to get 10 times worse before it gets better. Because if you just do the numbers, you've got no chance. I didn't know it was that bad in Ireland, because they're playing catch-up, aren't they? The Irish didn't start getting absolutely swamped until, like, the noughties. Tony Blair started it all in the UK. I think it was about 2009, 2010 when the Irish started ramping it up. But I didn't know there were less than 75% of the population now. So they're knackered. And it won't be long. Not only am I telling you this, here's a prediction. In short order, the Irish will have their first terror attack in Ireland. Because these lunatics, they don't look at Ireland and go, I mean, we used to joke about Ireland, didn't we? We used to joke about Ireland and Scandinavia because when there was an incident where you got some lunatic stab a load of people up in like Stockholm or something. People would be like, what have the Scandies ever done to anyone? You know what I mean? You've got to go back a long time to the Scandies twatting people. And certainly they haven't twatted any of the regulars at Alan's snack bar for a very long time. And we used to joke and say, what have they ever done to anyone? People joke about the Irish compared to the Brits, because obviously the Brits, we had an empire. The Irish, yeah, you could argue they were part of it. Certainly they were part of, Napoleonic Wars. 40% of them were Irish and Scottish, weren't they, at Waterloo? But, in the last few hundred years, the Irish, what have they done to anyone? But they don't care, because the mal-educated Bronze Age savages, they don't care that the Irish have not been barnstorming across the Middle East. They're not scholars, if you haven't figured that out. They're not sitting there reading the shit book going, oh yes, technically the Irish could be at odds with some of the issues in Iraq and Afghanistan and the Iranians and the Ayatollah and certain geopolitical. No, they don't know anything. They're inherently racist. There's been cases where they've had devout regulars at Allen's who were trying to do a pilgrimage somewhere, but they happen to be white. And they just get a bullet in the head. It's racist and religiously motivated. So they talk about these assaults on people like Sammy Woodhouse and all these girls. They are racially and religiously aggravated. The reason they're doing it is because they don't follow the religion and because they're white. But really, it's because they're white. Because when you get converts who've genuinely converted, and they'll be, big beardy weirdy with a daft hat on and the ginger. Because loads of white converts are ginger for some reason. Because they get bullied a lot. Right? And they'll kidnap them in Morocco or Algeria or something. And they always kill them. If they kidnap a load of, different sect or whatever, they'll ransom them or something. But if you're a devout convert, but you look like me, they'll just kill you. Because they don't think about it that much. They view it as being a religious and a very much a race thing. So they'll just kill you. And that's obvious to anyone. So the Irish aren't going to be safe. You know what I'm telling you? So there's a prediction for you. The Irish are going to get twatted. I'm telling you, next couple of years it's going to happen. Because every year they're moving high risk, high testosterone, fighting age men in, and they aren't thinking about it too much. And they're not going to go, oh yes, but 1 second, actor Akbar. Technically the Irish are a neutral country since the Easter Rising, and even they remain neutral in the Second World War. And they had nothing to do with the Ayatollah, and they definitely didn't join in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they didn't do anything to Colonel Gaddafi, and they weren't in Libya, ISIS, Taliban, Al-Qaeda, blah, blah, blah. They don't know any of that shit. They just go, oh, look at these white people. Oh my God, one of them's drinking a pint of Guinness. Kill them all. That's their attitude. So they're going to get twatted. I'm telling you, it's coming. And, that's probably because they've got their own daft, quirky religious sect. The left-footers are daft, aren't they? The Catholic Church is almost as twisted as the big golden bell end one. But it doesn't matter if they've got no bell end-shaped churches. They're going to get twatted in the next few years. Because they've had thousands and thousands and thousands of them move in, and they kill you because they're racist. They don't care about their ideology. They're all thick as 2 short planks. That's why they run into crowded train stations with backpacks full of ball bearings, high explosives, and rat poison. Because they're not very bright. If they were clever, they wouldn't be doing it, would they? Anyway, that's over an hour. That you can have that for now, ladies and gentlemen. 1,546. That's definitely more than GB News gets. Ever since the sacked Mark Stein, what's the point? All right, are you going to watch me or Benjamin Bum a lot? No chance, the Irish, we'll see. We'll see, Jody. I pray that you are right. But it's only a matter of time before someone with a hissing backpack runs into an Irish bus station, or a bloke with a meat cleaver rushes into a, whatever it is, children's river dance class. Okay, right, I'm off. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm off ski. Take it easy. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the super chats. See you all next week. Toodle pip. Cheers.